Alright guys, let's continue. We have to continue. The things should not stop. Nothing should stop. So, yeah, this is our girl. Now, by the way, looking not bad. Now, let's connect the teeth and the head and hide her. And I will... it was from Vimal Kerketa, I think, yeah? Vimal... Opa. Vimal head... female 01, for example. I'm not sure if it was 01 or 02. Already I'm a little bit, I don't know where am I. But whatever. So we hide it. And in the same file, we make a new file. A new sphere, I mean. Then disable the shadow. I don't like to sculpt with the shadow on. Because it's, always first turn on your symmetry. And then continue working. Now we will do this guy. It will not be exactly this guy, but it will be a guy who is kind of young, kind of have this prominent overall muzzle of the mouth, kind of prominent. Even in this guy, if we analyze, let's see. So this is the nose, okay, and this kind of plane in here is almost horizontal, almost, and then from it we have all this kind of muzzle of the mouth is forward. Here we have this fattening around the corners of the mouth, and then the corners of the mouth are going in, as always. Yes, and this, if we are able to do this, and it's very visible here, you see the cheekbone, and then it's going in, and then we have muzzle of the mouth here. All the muzzle of the mouth ever. Pretty cool, right? So let's try to do something like this, but in the beginning we always start with a sphere. I always start with the sphere. If you want, you can start with something like a base mesh, something which in which you don't have to start with. But you see, when I start, I always start with a new file, for example, or a already established file, but I can very easily apply a sphere, either in ZBrush or in Blender. I can easily apply a sphere and then start from a sphere always. If you have a base mesh that you start off, you always have to open one file, in which file you have this base mesh, which is not a big deal. I mean, you can do this. But then, how will you remember and how you will be very comfortable with the overall shapes of the head? I don't know. The idea for me is that we have to be comfortable with the overall shapes of the head and the general shapes. And to do that, we have to practice them constantly. Because, for example, at some point, you will be hired in a company because you are doing very, very good heads. And at some point, you will be hired in a company to work on scans. But your head anatomy overall will be kind of fine for the face features. But for the skull, it could be a little bit less because you don't start from a sphere and you use a base mesh. And then it could get ugly. Because sometimes a scan should be fixed, the skull shape should be fixed, and yeah, you should be on a good level. But that's my train of thought. Maybe yours is different. So I don't know. Now, sternocleidomastoid. I will make sure my neck is kind of long because young model, male model, long neck equals long neck most of the time. Long, not very thick, not very muscular neck, but long. Okay, muscular, but not super thick muscles, not like some kind of MMA fighter or a wrestler or Hulk. Something a little bit more, elegant. All right, squeezing here to make this kind of shape, muzzle of the mouth in here, this and this going in, and then the shape of the jaw around here, and then the ear, and then here we will of course cut this We'll cut a little bit also here, and this will be our eyebrow ridge. Then we'll have the nose, of course, at the front. Then we'll have a mouth around, maybe a little bit lower it will be the mouth, but yeah. Then we'll have eyes and cheekbones. Okay, yeah, I'm just messing around, it's not needed. Okay, what I like to do in this stage is to establish my cheekbones, just in case, and then push in front of the cheekbones, because we know from the skull, and then the muzzle of the mouth, I will kind of improve it a little bit. So we know that the muzzle of the mouth, not the muzzle of the mouth, but the cheekbones kind of go in and then go a little bit like flat in here, and then the nose come from that, and above them we'll have our eye sockets. Then from the side view I will pinch this area just between the eye sockets. It has to go in. In some people this is more, in some people it's less. There are people that this doesn't exist almost. Their nose starts almost like this. Very not double nose, of course, but sometimes when we work from a side view and we don't look at the front view or the 3/4, we end up with two noses, which is not the result we want, you know. Usually it's not the result we want. Sometimes maybe it is, but I haven't seen you know, a place that two noses will be fine. Even for some crazy games, two noses are usually a no-no, because it looks ridiculous. It probably cannot look very nice with two noses. Yeah. So doing the ears, move them. Alright. Let's see the nose. The nose has to be thin in the top part. Then above the thin nose, we have this thing, like a traps, like this. And then the nose is thin, going down. And then we have thickening, this kind of a ball of the nose here. And then we have, of course, the nostrils and everything. And here, this is kind of flat on the sides. Don't push it here. Many people push it exactly in this direction. They push it in, and this is wrong. Too much push it in there, and it will look very, very bad. Don't push it too much, and it will look a little bit better, even if it's not perfectly as the concept. But we have to be careful with that. Also, with the concept, always look from a concept, or always work from a concept. Now I'm doing just a little bit meat here below the eyebrows, because I need this, you know, to have something there, although I don't have enough geometry. But I will push above the chin, because above the chin you will have a chin, kind of a meaty chin, not super thin like the skull, because we have a meat in here. If you squeeze it, you will see it's kind of meaty. And it shouldn't be like the skull, you know. The skull is pretty thin in there. So carefully. Now the jaw, I will make it a little bit wider, since this is a male. Should be a bit wider, the jaw. Okay. And temporal lines, they are coming. You see the temporal line is around here. You see this a little thingy, like a little more white area, specular in there. Temporal line. It's coming from there and it's going back like this. We need it just to establish a little bit some planes, but we have to be careful not to make those planes too prominent, because in most people they are not. And especially in young people and, you know, soft people like female, those temporal lines are not visible at all. So don't do them. Now the nose, I will push it forward, and also the muzzle of the mouth, I will push it a little bit forward. Okay, the neck also, we don't need the neck to be super backwards like a turtle. Turtleneck we don't need. And let's see, we have the cheekbones, we have the ears, we push the basement of the ear, the base of the ear, more into the face, because it's needed. Then we will pull the ears up and push them close to the face. And the back of the head I will also smooth. Like this. Alright. And here the sternocleidomastoid, I have to kind of establish it. And I think we have secured the maximum of this resolution, so we will go and increase it and apply it. Then I will symmetrize. Yeah, in Blender you always have to. In ZBrush it's mostly symmetrical, but yeah, sometimes you have to mirror and dwell there too. Then pull this up, so we have the eyebrow line, then we have the nose from the side view, then we push the nostrils back. We need them, the nostrils needs to be back. And then when those things here smash, because we push the nostrils back, we will smooth them. And I will make this kind of fat pads here and then smooth them a bit. Not quite much, I mean, I don't smooth them completely, but I smooth them a lot. Because I don't need them to be ultra visible. Now, this is our nose from the bottom. We need this inflation here on the bottom of the nose to make it a bit bigger. Then the top of the nose, overall it's thin, but flat. We can make it flat, which is stylization, but it helps us to establish the forms. When we stylize a little bit, it helps us to establish the forms. Otherwise, I don't know. And now, let's make the holes of the nose, which will be on the sides mostly. But be careful not to make the sides of the nostril here very thin. They are not so thin. And also, they're not thin, they're kind of thin, but they don't look thin because they go like round and in and then out, like a little bit like this cartilage here, because this is a cartilage and this is a cartilage, so it's similar shape, kind of a round, and then you have inside part, and it's overall thin, but it doesn't look thin. It looks like it's inflated there, which is not. The same as the ears. Okay, this guy, let's see, we have the cheekbone established, we have the muzzle of the mouth established. I think we are in a good shape here. Maybe the cheekbone could go, the cheek fat here could go a little bit lower, because you see this kind of shaping here, this shadow tells me that there is something there, like a push, something that we can use in our advantage. Okay, I'm not saying that we will do exactly this guy, because only from one image it will be pretty difficult. Even for experienced likeness artists, from one image it will be very difficult to do a likeness. That's why when the likeness artists do a likeness of a TV star or actress or whatever, some famous guy, which usually they do that, they choose a lot of pictures from different angles, whatever they can find, and they use that. They don't just, you know, do it without references or just with one reference, because it's stupid. It's not possible to do it correctly, and it's very difficult. But we are doing something like a study. We don't need to do complete likeness or something, so we are fine. Now you see how I push the angles of the mouth in, and then I will kinda push also the angles of the lips themselves, not only between the lips, but the lips themselves also a bit. So they will kinda go in, and then this meat here will go over them, like this. The meat I will make, and then I will smooth it a bit. Everything is a bit, you know. Nothing is too strong or something. Although, when you start to understand the forms, and when you have enough practice, at some point you will be able to increase some characteristics, and it will look nice because you will know exactly what to do. But for now, just work with references and try to understand the forms. Try to make yourself a better sculptor or 2D artist, whatever it is. Because of course these exercises that I'm showing here you can do in 2D, in iPad or whatever. It's not only for sculptors, although it's mostly for sculptors, but it's for everybody since those are shapes and forms of the human head. Yeah, so the eyes, I think now, they look too small. So I will increase the size of the eyes. Make sure they're not too close together, because I told you the distance between the eyes here in the front, in the middle, is usually one eye. So if we make them, you know, this is the orbit of the eye here, just and then smooth. If we make them closer together, it will look bad. If we make them too far away from each other, it will look bad. So, so whatever you do, obviously, your sculpt will look bad. So, I don't know if you have to even sculpt. I'm not sure. But, yeah, maybe you should. Maybe you should try. Because, yeah, I'm telling you that it will look bad. But you have to try it for yourself and see it. But of course, if you do them with the perfect distance, it will definitely not look bad on this part, on the eye part. If you do something, you know, not so good, some other part, it will look bad. So, yeah, we have to be careful. Let's see this ear, by the way. It's kind of very interesting because the question part is going all the way back here, which is very interesting. Let's try to make it, by the way. It's a good exercise to make different types of ears, and I haven't made exactly that type of ear, so it's cool. So we see the question mark part of the ear, so the outer side, it's going like through here, and here it enters the skull, kind of. It's going inside. It's not entering the skull, because the ear is outside of the head. It's kind of going in and there, inside. It's not inside the skull, basically. It's not. It cannot be. Except of the hole, of course, of the ear hole. Ear canal, we may say. But that's the only place it can go. So the question mark part, this part here is the hole of the ear. I don't know why this is kind of so round and the other part is so round. Everything is round. Nobody knows. I will inflate this area here, although it's not inflated, but I will inflate it so I can make the border and then the inside of this kind of border of the ear a little bit. Now, this ear has this shape, then here on the front, and then here I'm just trying, okay. Of course we will need a little bit more geometry probably, and to lift it up a bit, but overall the more time you spend on the ear and looking at your reference, this reference is not the best. It kind of have some visible things, but it has a lot of shadow, so if you don't know exactly the shape of the ear, you don't have practice with the ear, it probably will be difficult for you to make it. I'm increasing now the geometry, smoothing this, and as you can see, I'm working on the ear that I'm looking at the reference, the same ear on the same side, because it will be much more difficult to look at this ear and work on the other ear. It doesn't make sense since we have symmetry, of course. If we don't have symmetry and you want to make different ears, which doesn't make sense that much, although it can make sense on a specific persons, for example, guys who are fighters, and they are, for example, you are doing Conor McGregor, and you know that Conor specifically has one of the ears smashed because of the wrestling, and the other one is not smashed, for example, because it could happen. It can happen that one of the ears is like without any form or shape, and the other one is kind of okay, normal ear. It's rare, but it could be. But in other occasions, I'm not sure you want to do different ears. Always symmetry. Symmetry is the key here. We have it, and we are happy. Now from the side view I see the ear looks pretty big, so I will make it a bit more smaller from the side view. I don't like it to be as big. I will smooth some areas, and the face I will smooth, but very, very lightly. I'm just barely touching the tablet, and if I have to, I touch it a couple of times until I smooth, but I don't touch it once and try to smooth in one swoop, because it will be a disaster. It will smooth most of my detail, which I hardly worked, not hardly, I worked hard to do. Not hardly, hardly is another thing. I worked hard to do this detail, so I want it. Now, I will pay attention to another thing on the nose, although this reference is a little bit strange, but it doesn't matter, because the nose is the nose. You see, front part, this kind of a front lower plane, then we have another plane in here, which is a little bit sideways, and then we will have our kind of bottom plane of the nose in here, and then the top, it's not exactly a plane, but whatever. And then the nose will be like in. And then this is the thick part of the nose here, and then we have the cartilage, then here is the bone, and if you look carefully, you will see the bump in here where the bone finishes, and then you will see inward motion in here, and then outward motion for this kind of a fat cartilage part of the nose in the front. Yeah, I know. You have to be able to kind of notice those things. If you don't, it will be bad. If you don't, notice those things now, it's normal. I didn't quite notice most of those things before. I watched a lot of courses. I did a lot of practices, and I become this good in head making. I'm not the best in any case. There is more to learn, but I become this good only because I like to do heads a lot. And whatever I don't feel like sculpting anything else, I just do a head from sphere. And that's it. And usually, which is bad, I did those heads without references. And then you don't quite learn something, except that you learn that you are not that good. Because it's usually without references, like, kind of okay, but not too much. That's why using reference is the key, and I'm giving you the key. Using reference. Of course, in the beginning it will not be the best. Your models will not be ultra cool, but they will be way better than without references and without the knowledge that you got from this course. And as I said again, this course, all the knowledge that I'm giving you, it's a lot. So maybe some videos you have to watch them more than twice. Not just twice, more than twice. I suggest that. Because I've seen people, they watch my courses and they watch my videos, and they are I know what knowledge I have presented there, and still they're making the same mistakes in their works. The mistakes that I said that you shouldn't make, they are making those mistakes, those same mistakes. Why? Because when you watch a video, a tutorial video, around 20%, if you are very careful, maybe 25% of what is said in the video will go into your head, and you will kind of remember it after the end of the video. So if you watch it twice, maybe this will become like 35%, but even not 50% after 2 watches. But if you practice, then go back to these videos, try again, then practice again. This is the way. There is no shortcut. Basically, no shortcuts if you want to be a good artist. If you want to do good things, maybe there's a shortcut using scans and just presenting them as yours. Probably that could work to an extent, but eventually you will get caught at some point, and it will be very shameful. So I think the right way is the highway, the slow. It doesn't have to be slow if you have time. What I mean by that is you can basically make a good head if you work 10 hours every day for, let's say, 6 months. For 6 months, but every day for 10 hours, working with references, with trying to understand the forms and trying to get better and better. And at some point, around those 2 months, you will be kind of okay. It will not be the best, definitely. If you have, by the way, before that, if you have a knowledge, anatomy knowledge, or if you have kind of drawing skills before that, most likely you will be faster in getting better. Otherwise, it will be a slow and meticulous process. This looks like the waiter. Now, we were in a camp in the seaside of Bulgaria this year, in the summer. And there, the waiter in the hotel restaurant, where we eat most of the time, was looking like this guy now. A little bit like this. But his eyes was more crazy. He has crazy eyes. So yeah. By the way, for the male, don't make those things here very, very prominent. Those fat pads around the eyes, very thick or very kind of with a big shape, very blobby. They have to be there, but we have to be careful with that. As always, we are making sure that the top of our head, the tip of our head from the side view is above the ears, not here, like this, for example. Although this looks pretty cool, but it's wrong. And also from the front view, we are trying to make it look like a house in the top, like this, a little bit sharper on the top. And this looks kind of fine, in my opinion. Of course, if you have a different opinion, you can try to do it your way. And there is nothing wrong with that. I always encourage people to learn from a practice, from watching other people, from watching themselves, and anatomy books, and comparing all those things together to get your understanding of anatomy. I think that's the best. Not only, just blindly following some guy like me. This could be wrong. Because I am just a person, I'm just a man, and I could be a little bit wrong here and there. But I'm not, no, of course I'm not, but still could be. So, carefully. Let's see the back of the chin, the back of the, okay, we cannot see it quite much. Let's see it here. You see, from the side view, the back of the lower jaw here, just below the ear, is not very prominent. It's not pronounced like we are doing it like this. Usually it's not like this. Because you have skin, which is coming here like this. You have, just here you have some glances, you have some fat pads, and it's kind of smooth. But when you look at it from the front, it could be a square jaw because of this muscle here, for example, pronounced, like this guy here. If you squeeze this muscle, of course it's more pronounced. If you squeeze your teeth, and it's visible here. If he is just relaxed, it may not be so visible, but there are people who have this muscle very, very pronounced, very huge, and yeah, that's it. All right. I think we are fine. Of course, at some point, but not before a certain point, you can try to do some eyebrows. And for the male, the eyebrows should be lower, closer to the eyes than in a female. And most of the time, if you want to do kind of a very cool male like this, you have to drop the eyeballs a lot. The eyebrows a lot. This guy started to look a little bit like me, by the way. Because of the temporal lines, maybe, I'm not sure. A little bit, not too much. So, yeah. Well, I'm doing myself sometimes, you know. That's normal. but it's not exactly quite right, you know. I have this kind of thinking here. Close to the mouth and smooth. And my lines from the nose here are more prominent because I'm already a little bit older, you know. Here we have this kind of bulge, which is always between this line in here and the mouth. So these lines never touch the corners of the mouth. They are, you have always this distance, though these bulges here are the distance most of the time. But I will smooth it because we need younger person, not me. I also have these things a little bit more pronounced in here. I didn't used to have them, but now they are like this, you know. Yeah. But we will smooth them, because we don't need these ugly forms here. No. By the way, if you look at me, my nostrils are pretty wide. And but we don't do this. We usually do the nostrils a little bit like this. So the nostrils from the front view look almost like straight vertical line, not exactly vertical, a little bit inward, and then the nostrils itself. See? And then this here is not very prominent. It's not, you don't push it too much there. And then you have something like this for the nose, from the side of the nose, and this is kind of a plane in here. And then this, and the same plane in this side. And then you have the front kind of a thing, which is sometimes separated into, sometimes not. I mean, it's always separated, but is it visible on the surface? That's another question. That's absolutely another question. We don't know. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. Okay, I think we are okay here, kind of. Maybe I will pull this, the whole face in like this. It could be better, yes. Yeah, if you push it more like this, sometimes it's not that good. So, if you notice that it's happening, just pull it back. Because he has Caucasian features, and he has to have Caucasian skull. If he has more like black guy features, then he may have this a little bit more forward, and but the features also have to match. Of course, maybe I can do a video for different races in the future, but the idea here is not the races. The races, you can learn them kind of easy when you know the base human forms and stuff, and then the different shapes are kind of easy. That's why I'm not quite fond to make too much of that here in this course, because it's not I don't want to push the things into a different direction. I want to concentrate on basic shapes, and that's it. I don't want too much other things to take care of. So always look at your skull or face from 3/4 view. Look at it, because in 3/4 view you will see a lot of things. Like, for example, if you are like this and your skull in the front is as wide as in the back, and in the 3/4 view you will see it. You will see, oh, what a big forehead. I have to push it back, because yeah, even it's not as big as some people are doing it. So yeah, careful about that. Definitely be aware of these things in the 3/4 view. 3/4 view will show you a lot of things. Listen to the 3/4 view. It's a good guy. 3/4 view is your friend. And when we stop messing around, at some point we have to finish this and start. Yeah, this is 35-minute sculpt, so it's pretty cool for me. For you, I suggest it could be more, because if you try to achieve the speed of Nico, probably it will be bad. Usually try to achieve the quality, not the speed. The quality is better to achieve. The speed is, someday you will achieve it even better, probably. But quality is the most important. Alright, now we have this. The next video, we probably will start with the feedbacks. We will analyze some head, I have, I think, at least 5 different heads from different people. So I will analyze the head in the beginning, and we will start fixing it by fixing first the main problems with the skull and the shape of the head and the neck, because usually those problems are the main issues, and the forehead here, and then we will go to the facial stuff, which will be, most of the time there are big eyes, eyeballs, and from that big eyes and stuff like this. But yeah, we'll see. Okay, see you guys in the next video.